What's going on? Welcome to Asian Cosell. So I have one here by Jason Whitlock. And yeah, this is another Caitlin Clark incident here. You know, she's compared to Jackie Robinson in a continued backlash, and we'll see how this is going to go. So as the WNBA turn.
As the WNBA turns, starring Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Asia Wilson, and other angry feminists. Brought to you by George Soros, Adam Silver, Kathy Engelbert, and the Global Elite.
All right, welcome back. I want to get into my daily dose of Caitlin Clark. I don't want to call it that. That's my Dion deal. This is As the WNBA Turns, the gayest soap opera on all of television. And last night, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever hosted the LA Sparks. Caitlin Clark set out with a groin injury, kind of a mysterious groin injury. I have seen a clip at the end of their previous game where it looked like Caitlin Clark got knocked to the floor and came up a little wounded a tiny bit and kind of walked in a funny way. And so maybe it's all real, but there's part of me that thinks like Caitlin Clark needs a mental break. She's 1 of 23 in the last 3 games from three-point range. That's not a slump. That's a problem. That makes no sense. And there's people like, oh, she must be injured. She's playing through injury. That's why her shot's off. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying. She looks miserable on the court, and she should look miserable on the court because there is such an incredible headwind directed at her. Yesterday on the show or earlier this week, I said that like, hey, she's getting the Jackie Robinson treatment. And we put out that clip on X, and people have been going at me. How dare you say, compare her to, she's not having to eat at other restaurants than her team. She doesn't have to go through the back door to be served.
Okay, so I understand where this is going with the Jackie Robinson thing, and okay. So he's going to break down like what she's kind of going through with this league because, you know, we know what the WNBA is. Again, I don't want to beat this down like a drum going, okay, you know, but we know what it is. So let's see what Whitlock says, and we're going to see. So here we go.
You can stay at the same hotel, and I get it. But Jackie Robinson didn't enter some Major League Baseball league that was totally dominated by the alphabet mafia. So let's roll the clock back to 1947, and Jackie Robinson is some heterosexual Christian male that entered Major League Baseball, and Major League Baseball's entire culture was controlled by atheist, secular, gay people. And there was pressure on him, and he was getting harassed for being heterosexual. That's what Caitlin Clark is going through. And yes, were many Major League Baseball players didn't want to play with black players? Did Jackie Robinson face harassment, snide comments from even some of his teammates and certainly some of his opponents and managers and things? Absolutely. But Caitlin Clark's going through the exact same thing. I'm not saying she's getting worse treatment than Jackie Robinson. I'm not saying that she's getting the kind of death threats that Jackie Robinson got. But she's under immense amount of pressure, and she's a woman. And things hit different when you're a...
And okay, and yeah, Caitlin Clark, again, coming into a league, the WNBA. And she being a straight white girl, and the WNBA is LGBTQ, social activism. And we saw in the cartoon clip there. So, okay, I'll buy that part. And of course, Jackie Robinson, I'm a Dodger fan. And yeah, he went through immense amount of, times back in the days. Okay, so let's continue.
A woman. There was a reason why for thousands of years when men were of their right mind, civilized men didn't put women in war. Like, now that's our job. We'll do the life and death thing. Back when we were civilized and had brains, we've never seen a woman go through the kind of stress and pressure and hostile treatment, a hostile work environment for this kind of sustained period. Now, and I'm thinking this through in real time. 50s were like for women as they went into the workforce and all the sexual harassment that they endured. Well, and it broke a lot of them. And it wasn't a pleasant experience. And maybe that is a proper analogy. But what Caitlin Clark is going through is bad. And I want to give you another example of just of this isn't so much what she's going through as much as it's a reflection of the atmosphere and the mentality and the delusion that she's going through in the WNBA, that this whole culture in the WNBA, it sweeps up everybody and they join in on disrespecting, shading, criticizing, trying to diminish Caitlin Clark. The entire league is in on it, and people that don't even realize they're in on it are in on it. I'm going to play you this clip from, I think the guy's name is Derek Clark. He was broadcasting the Valkyrie New York Liberty game 2 nights ago. And Kate Martin, who used to play with Caitlin Clark at Iowa, had a nice little run, and the Golden State Valkyrie, the expansion team in Golden State, nearly knocked off the New York Liberty, one of the best teams. I think Caitlin Clark missed, or Kate Martin missed a shot at the end that could have tied it or won it. But listen to what this broadcaster says. He's calling a Valkyrie Liberty game, but figures out a way. Hey, I'm going to praise Kate Martin while saying something totally delusional, nonsensical, and removed from fact about Caitlin Clark. Play the clip.
Okay, before they play the clip, Kate Martin, yep, hell of a game. Shot, a couple 2 threes in a row, and yeah, she's been on fire. But let's get into this.
Everybody knows Kate Martin because she played with Caitlin Clark in Iowa, but people forget that, some of the games that Caitlin didn't have it, especially in the tournament, which is where Kate Martin really made her name. Kate Martin took over a lot of those games by herself.
Huh?
This is comical. Because we all watched Caitlin Clark. None of us had ever watched college basketball in a real way, and we all watched the last 2 years as Caitlin Clark and Iowa went to back-to-back NCAA title games. They lost them both, but we saw the run. And the stats are all available. This guy just made this up purely out of his rear end. He pulled it out of his rear end. There's not an ounce of truth to what he's saying here. We all remember when Kate Martin took over games and carried Caitlin Clark all by herself.
Huh?
That's farcical. There's not a single.
I remember watching Iowa games. I remember Caitlin Clark. I remember Kate Martin, and I'm not trying to diminish her, but Kate Martin carried Iowa, bailed Caitlin Clark out. Okay, maybe a couple times if I give the credit, but no. We watched the game of Iowa because of Caitlin Clark. I remember Caitlin Clark. Yeah, this guy is talking out of his rear ass. Yeah. Wow.
Caitlin Clark, leading scorer. Their last 9-10 NCAA leading scorer, Kate Martin's a fine player, a role player, a very good player, a player that I wish the Indiana Fever had drafted last year along with Caitlin Clark.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy, Derek Clark, I believe is his name, he's caught up in everybody else. Hey, we're figuring out ways to take shots at Caitlin Clark. We're figuring out ways to try to say Caitlin Clark's not nearly as important or as valuable as everyone's making her out to be. Let me join in on it. Let me tell some outright lies about Caitlin Clark and Kate Martin. He's just going the direction the wind is blowing. And the wind is blowing against Caitlin Clark. It makes no sense. She's what the WNBA needs. They should be rooting for her. It's important that she's successful because if she doesn't come out of this shooting slump or if this groin injury, because groin injuries, if it's real, can be really nagging injuries that could undermine her entire season. And if Caitlin Clark, they're at a critical point here. If Caitlin Clark doesn't snap back and start playing at a high level, and if she doesn't play regularly, people are going to, I tried the WNBA, it was interesting for a while, but Caitlin Clark bent the knee and kissed the rear end of the Black Yas Queens. Now she's not playing at a super high level. Now she's not even available. I'll go back to ignoring the WNBA and I'll spend the summer with my kids and doing other things and avoiding these entitled, pampered athletes. Help us grow.
Yeah, that's what it's going to take, the WNBA. And because of Caitlin Clark, I have interest in watching a lot of the other teams, but I'm not going to be religiously glued to it. Maybe I might watch, the Golden State Valkyries not because of Kate Martin, and you can call me whatever. I'm being Asian American. I'm watching the other Caitlyn Chen. That's what's kind of got my attention. Like, okay, Paige Becker's teammate for those at UConn. I might watch some of that. I don't mind watching the Valkyries, but I'm not going to devote the time. So, but the main reason I watch the W is Caitlin Clark. So we'll have to see how this season goes because we're 15 to 16 games in. Yeah. And shout out to Whitlock for putting it as the WNBA turns. All right, so if any enjoyed India's content, please give me the HKO special. Help the key out. Hit the like, subscribe, and comment. And wherever you are, stay safe, and I'll see you in my next video.